This is the House Ways and Means Committee. Committee, please come to order for the purpose of having a meeting. During the bets, our committee person is not here this afternoon. His mother has dealing with some illness, and he had to be away from the Capitol to attend to her. If you would keep him in your thoughts, her and your thoughts and prayers, and hope everything works out fine. We will check for first call House Bill 295, Representative Battles. We will be working off of LC 344165ERS. Chairman Battles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill that has been worked for 2 years, or actually longer. It's been before the Ways and Means for 2 years, and it's been worked over and it's come up with a good piece of legislation. And what this is a comprehensive revision of the provisions regarding ad valorem tax, the assessments, and the appeals. Unless there's questions from the committee, I'm not going to labor this. It was long meetings and great discussions, but after it passed out of the subcommittee, I'd ask for your favorable consent and would answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of the author of the bill? Chair hears none. What is it? Pleasure of the committee. Move to passage. Just a second.
Mr. Chairman, we had an amendment in the subcommittee meeting, and I failed to bring a copy of that amendment, but it doesn't appear. We voted it into this bill, and it doesn't appear to be here, but we can fix it later.
Well, no, sir, we will not. We'll fix it now. If there's a flaw in the bill.
Well, and Jeremy's not here, is he?
He is not here.
It was the limitation on $1,000 on a mobile home park. It doesn't appear to be there. Clint, do you happen to have a copy of that proposed amendment?
Representative Battle, do you want to speak to what he's talking about?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. What this was is this had to do with the mobile homes. Someone might have a mobile home park with 100 mobile homes in it, and because of the failure of being able in a timely manner to get the certificates on those mobile homes, and in the county inspecting those and finding them there without those tags, could have, under this particular piece of legislation, could have, oh, you've got it here. All right, thank you. It's easier to read it than it is to explain it. This is the amendment to it. It had, instead of $50 per mobile home, it says, provided, however, that in the event of such persons owning more than one mobile home in an individual mobile home park, then the maximum fine under this paragraph for the person with respect to such mobile home park shall not exceed $1,000. So if he has 100 or 200, the maximum penalty would be $1,000, and I had no objection to that amendment, and that was presented later. That
in Battles, if you could let us know where
yes,
it is
I apologize. I apologize. It's on 1221. It's in section 2 on page 34. Yes, yes. The insert would be, instead of the not more than, I'm sorry, decals. The fine should be $50. And we right, inserting between 50 and that provision would allow, if one owns more than one of the mobile home parks, that they would not be penalized more than $1,000.
Representative Battles, the chair is still a little confused. Are you proposing to amend the substitute, or is it in the substitute and we didn't read it? Which one?
No, the amendment that that was presented was
in subcommittee. Is that correct?
In subcommittee, and we voted on that with this amendment in it, but it has not, even coming back from Legislative Council, it's not there.
Well, it was my understanding, and was it yours, that it would have been supposed to be included?
I was under the impression that it would be.
But it's not.
But it's not.
Representative Battles, let's do an amendment, basically a technical amendment. We generally try not to do amendments at the full committee level, but since it's basically, I think you're saying it's a technical amendment. If you don't mind, have someone assist you in preparing the technical amendment so we can vote on that to perfect the bill and get going, okay?
All right. Sure will, Bruce.
While they're taking care of the bookkeeping, we will temporarily suspend that while they perfect the bill. And the chair calls House Bill 390. Representative Mayo will be working off of, my understanding, LC 3939-0648S.
Members of the committee, I bring to you House Bill 390. Excuse me, I'd be remiss if I did not thank the chairman of the subcommittee, Representative Harbin, Representative Martin, Representative Powell, for their efforts in refining this bill. We also thank Representative Knight, Representative Pack, and Representative Riley for offering some provoking thoughts and ideas to make this a better bill for Georgia citizens. House Bill 390 simply allows any county with both a host and a martyr tax to be allowed an exemption to the sales tax ceiling for the purpose of allowing voters in that jurisdiction the opportunity to vote on a SPLOST. And this is related to DeKalb County. It applies only to DeKalb, and we'd certainly appreciate your consideration. In Section 2, you'll see we have an opt-out provision for our cities, and Representative Pack and I have had some conversations about that. This is so that the cities who do not wish to participate would have the opportunity to opt out. And in Section 3 relates to the distribution and collection of the proceeds by Department of Revenue. And this language would in some ways change SPLOST, and I've talked with Representative Powell, who raised some concerns about this, and assured him that we would revisit this and address this issue at the appropriate time. But again, we've got 400 miles of unpaved roads in DeKalb County. Our hands are tied by a host and a martyr tax, so we're limited in terms of how we can move forward with some very necessary infrastructure improvements, and would certainly appreciate this committee and hope that you all will give us the opportunity to allow DeKalb voters to vote on a referendum for the purpose of levying a SPLOST and address our infrastructure needs. I'll be happy to entertain questions, but I ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 390.
Question to the author. Representative Black.
Yes, if I understand this puts DeKalb on a level playing field with Fulton County?
Yes, sir. City of Atlanta, which has the sewer tax, it would put us in line with the
and
city.
They have a splash tax as well?
Yes.
All right.
I believe they have a lost.
Okay. All right. Also in this bill is a provision to lengthen the time frame to 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Is that also in line with Atlanta?
I'm not sure what the Atlanta tax, the duration of that, but this is something we believe would be necessary to be able to complete many of the projects in mind based on our comprehensive plan. And the tax would sunset so that it will be a one-time deal. DeKalb, after the 10-year period, would have to come back to the General Assembly if we needed additional time, but it is a one-time and tax and has a sunset after that 10-year period.
Do you know at what time? If I remember correctly, the tax in Atlanta for the sewer was to expire. It was actually a 5-year tax with the possibility of renewal for another 5 years. When is that scheduled to expire?
I'm not sure, sir. I don't know when it's scheduled to expire.
What's the tax rate in DeKalb County now?
7%.
7%. I mean, this. I have concerns about the 10-year because I believe that Atlanta's is 5, and I think it's fixed to expire. And was this basically the tax increase? Well, let me ask you this: what percentage of the taxes collected in DeKalb County comes from outside the county?
I do not have the answer to that. I'm sorry. But I will say, when you mentioned the fact that it could be a tax increase, it would be the will of the voters that would impose that tax increase. And all this bill does is gives the county an opportunity to put it on the ballot and gives voters an opportunity to vote on a referendum.
In some areas, a lot of the businesses from outside the county, those people wouldn't be allowed to vote on it.
No, they wouldn't, but we certainly appreciate their business and enjoy their patronage, and they do use our roads and infrastructure, so we would welcome their continued support.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Harrell.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Mayo, I appreciate the work you've done and the cooperation you've showed, and I understand the reasons for the opt-out provisions that are in the bill as stated. However, that it appears that it could create some significant problems with the allocation of those funds, and I am concerned and voiced in subcommittee too concerns about provisions that would, should a city choose to opt out, that those residents who will remain residents of the county would be prohibited from voting. That raises an issue from me as well. I'm just wondering if it would make better sense to remove the opt-out language, which is a single sentence. It begins on line 66 on page 3. At the end of line 66, where it says, or it begins a new sentence, if no such express agreement, and just strike that sentence beginning on page 66 and ending after the words qualified municipality on page 60 on page line 68. That would in effect say that the county would have to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the various cities within the county. And once that agreement was reached, then you would have a traditional SPLOST-type referendum, and hopefully the voters of DeKalb would see the value as you've expressed, and I believe the need is there to impose the SPLOST to make the necessary repairs. I think that's I understand the political questions involved, but I think this is a cleaner way, respects the right of all citizens in the county to cast a ballot, and would certainly go a long way toward easing a burden placed on the Department of Revenue for trying to calculate, where a business is located, where the use tax is calculated, and how to distribute those funds. So I would ask you to consider a modification such as that.
Thank you. I would defer to the will and the wisdom of the committee, and if you all see that as a necessary change, we certainly will accept that. The way it's drafted would give us an opportunity to gain some support and move forward to please some of the interested parties. But again, I'll defer to your wisdom on that.
Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has this bill been redrafted by Legislative Council since you and I talked about the problems with Section 3?
No, it has not.
All right, so in other words, as Section 3 is currently written, it applied to when there was going to be a distribution to cities, and so now that there's not to be distribution to cities, that needs to be taken out?
Yes, that's correct.
But if Mr. Harrell's suggestion is left in, then Section 3 needs to be left in?
Well, it's my understanding that there were some early reservations, and to create a safety net, the section you're referencing, Section 3, was added. I'm not sure if those individuals are still uncomfortable with the language, but that's something that I really can't answer and speak on their behalf. But the opt-out provision was to give cities in the county an option and some flexibility in the event that they didn't want to participate.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to do this because Mr. Mayo has worked with everybody, but I still don't think that this thing is ready for full committee, especially in light of the fact that we want a clean draft to come out of here. And based on some conversations that Mr. Harrell's had with Revenue and some conversations that Mr. Mayo and I've had about Section 3, I really think we need to send this back to subcommittee, and I'd make a motion to table it.
Right. So you are proposing a motion to table the bill, is that correct? Is there a second? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Chair is undecided. All those in favor of the motion by Representative Powell, raise your hand for purposes of a hand count, please. Those opposed? The motion passes. The bill is tabled.
Thank you.
Representative Powell, would you clarify? We need to be. Would you clarify what your motion again? I'm sorry. Did you move to table the bill?
Yes, sir, it was motion to table, but I think it also, as a result of that, it needs to be reconsidered by subcommittee.
Okay, so we need another motion and vote. All
right, recommit to sub then, is that would be proper, Mr. Leader? Okay.
It's right now, as I understand it, it's on the table.
All right, I make a motion to take it off the table.
So your motion is to take it off the table. All in favor of removing the bill from the table, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. It's off the table. You are so recognized.
I would like to move to recommit this to subcommittee, sir.
Motion to recommit. All those, and as a second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Recommitted. House Bill 412, Representative Harrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 412 is a permissive bill. It allows those cities, counties, and taxing jurisdictions that have the capability to bill property taxes electronically to choose to do so. And in the instances that those cities, counties, and jurisdictions choose to bill electronically, it allows the property tax payer to also voluntarily choose to receive it electronically. It doesn't mandate on either side of the equation. I ask for the committee's favorable consideration.
Representative Howell, just to be sure, we're operating on the LC 344050S. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Heard the author's explanation. Questions from members of the committee? Yes, here's none. What's the pleasure of the committee? Move and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. House Bill 658, Representative Pack. We'd be working off LC 344113S.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring before you the substitute of House Bill 658 for your favorable consideration. Basically, what this bill does is to remove from the books the estate tax that's currently on the books of Georgia tax code. We actually, you may recall that in I believe in 2006, Georgia has reduced the tax amount to be equivalent to the federal estate tax credit amount. And since the federal estate tax has been phased out, this has generated zero revenue. At the same time, however, there's some administrative costs with this. Matter of fact, by repealing and removing the books would actually have some administrative cost savings to this to the department. In addition, there's a possibility, and the reason you need this bill is there's a possibility when the federal government restructures their estate tax code, this tax will come back. And we certainly don't want to get caught on that. As a result, I'm bringing the bill and asking that this section be completely repealed. One thing I will point out, the language in here in lines 16 through 18 makes clear that by repealing this doesn't impact any of the ability for the department to collect any taxes currently due and owing to the state. And I ask for your favorable consideration.
You heard the author's explanation of the bill. Are there questions of the members of the committee? Yeah, here's none. What's the pleasure of the committee? Move to pass in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. House Bill 755, Representative Powell, LC 344166 ERS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 755 in Section 1 amends the language dealing with the Forest Land Protection Act to make it clear that if there is an appeal as to a value, that 2008 value in the code refers to the 2008 value as finally determined on appeal. Then Section 2, 3, and 4 just deals with language about what you do if there is a dispute and if there is an appeal. And we have harmonized the language of this bill so that it coincides with the language of 295, because there were some conflicts in there, and so now those deal with the same issues where they overlap in the same way.
Questions of the author? Yes, Chair sees none. What's the pleasure? Do pass and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. House Bill 757, Representative Powell. And we're working off of, I think, Mr. Powell's LC 344170S.
That is correct. This basically amends CUVA and FLIPA, the Forest Land Protection Act, to provide that the construction of a solar farm or solar generation facility on CUVA or FLIPA property will not constitute a breach of the covenant, but that the land on which the solar farm is operated will come out of the covenant and be taxed at fair market value. This is consistent with what we do in the code with cell towers that are located on either CUVA or FLIPA property.
Questions of the author? Yes, he's none. What's the pleasure? Move to pass in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. House Bill 782, Representative Williamson, LC 344110ERS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring to your consideration committee substitute to House Bill 782, LC 344110ERS. This bill is known as the Facilitating Business Response to the State Declared Disaster Act. In simple terms, it will remove the need for out-of-state responders for declared state disasters for the need to file an income tax return if they hit the current triggers for a state income tax return. Be happy to answer any questions the committee might have.
Any questions of the author of the bill? Chair sees none. What's the pleasure? Move to pass and a second. All those in favor of passage of the bill signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. Thank you. House Bill 900, Representative Brett Harrell.
House Bill 900 provides a sales tax exemption for the last item in our manufacturing process, consumables. That was not previously exempt. There's a fiscal note that shows negligible impact, and in fact the note on the last sentence on the second page indicates that the savings from tracking and auditing on the Department of Revenue should reduce any impact whatsoever. Debated and voted out of subcommittee with strong support from the industry. I ask for your favorable consideration.
Questions of author of the bill? Chair sees none. What's the pleasure? Move to pass and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. House Bill 918, Representative Peak, LC 344153S, and also we have a Representative Peak has a technical amendment, AM 340627, that he will explain at the same time as he explains the bill. Representative Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the annual Internal Revenue Code update that we do every year to match up our Georgia State tax code with the federal Internal Revenue Code. The only additional provision, Section 2, the Department of Revenue just was interested in making sure that we have third-party payroll providers who cut payroll checks for businesses all over the state, that they would be required to submit their state registration applications electronically. We have one amendment to that by adding into, let's see, on line 56, would right after, by inserting withholding tax before registration, just to make sure that it's clear that it's the withholding tax registration. A lot of businesses have all kind of registrations, annual registrations, corporate registrations. We want to make sure that what we're requiring in this is that it's the withholding tax registration that these third-party payroll providers would be required to do apply electronically. And so, Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose that technical amendment to the bill.
First, any questions of the author of the bill? Yes, he's now. Let's first vote on the technical amendment AM 340627. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The amendment passes. The bill itself, House Bill 918 LC 344153S. All those in favor, excuse me, a motion to approve the bill and second so made. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Bill and the amendment passes. Thank you. We are now going back to the first bill on the agenda, Representative Battles. Representative Battles, you're recognized for purposes of explaining the bill itself as well as the now enclosed amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 12. At the end of line 1221, the end of that line, and I'll read just before the except upon the receipt of proof of purchase of decals prior to the date of issuance of the summons, the fine shall be $50, and then added after that is this: provided, however, that in the event such person owns more than one mobile home in an individual mobile home park, then the maximum fine under this program for the person with respect to such mobile home parks shall not exceed $1,000. And that would be the, and Legislative Council has helped to draft that for us.
Questions of the author? Chair sees none. We'll first vote on the amendment, which is AM to House Bill 295 LC 344135 ERS is the amendment to the bill. While Chair entertain a motion to.
Actually, the LC, since there was that technical change, the LC number has changed. It is LC 344135 ERS. I'm sorry,
That's what it
4165.
was.
I'm sorry, it's changed from 344165.
So the complete LC number is LC 344165.
ERS.
ERS.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Motion made that this amendment do pass. Is there a second? Is there a second? Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. All those in favor of the proposed amendment, signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. The amendment passes. Now to the bill itself, LC 344165 ERS as amended. What's the pleasure? Move to pass. And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The bill passes. This is the House Ways and Means Committee is now adjourned.